Okay, let's see. Are we live? It's going. It's going. Stream. No. It's perfect on time. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. Is anyone there? We'll just wait a few minutes for everyone to go live. So today we are talking to Adele van der Walt. Adele is a surrogacy and fertility law attorney, and she's got a great story to tell us about a journey that she was actually involved in. So let's just see if there's anybody here so far. Has anyone joined us? If you are, say hi. And then Adele, I'll hand over to Adele. Okay, so we've got quite a few people on Adele. Yeah, so thanks everyone for joining us. Nice to see you guys again. I haven't been speaking to you for a while. I've got so many things going on behind the scenes, and there's so many new things coming. So I'm really excited to chat to you guys about it. But today we are speaking to Adele. She's going to be doing our first talk, one of our talks about, we've named our talks now Fertility Talks, which will be happening every Friday. So please join us every Friday, either 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. We'll keep you guys informed. Again, we're excited to speak to Adele. Adele, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm really excited to hear about this. Yeah, I'll hand it over to Adele and she can introduce herself. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Leanne. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adele. We'll answer some questions later. I'm going to start with a bit of an introduction on surrogacy, background and journey, and I hope you find it helpful and informative. Just a bit of background from my side. I'm dealing with fertility law and surrogacy and medical law for the last 20 years. And it's amazing actually to see how the surrogacy industry and surrogacy law have developed over the time. My first surrogacy was 20 years ago and it was very informal. At that stage, we didn't have the Surrogacy Act, so it wasn't a requisite to have a signed agreement. And people were always concerned, you know, if the baby's born, what happens if the surrogate mother decides to keep the child, or, you know, if there's a problem that she wants to keep the child or doesn't hand the baby over. So subsequently, since then till now, in 2010, 10 years ago, we have had some substantial development with the Surrogacy Act. There's a lot of requisites, red tape. We'll touch very slightly on that, but also, you know, to take you through the journey and the meaningfulness and with a happy ending. That's our focus primarily today. But since 2010, we know that there's legal certainty for the intended parents. They know once the court order is granted and baby's born, baby's definitely, all the rights and responsibilities are signed over to the intended parents and it's their lawful child. But also for the surrogate mother, she also needs legal certainty. It's amazing and such a gift of love to provide somebody with that possibility and opportunity if they can't have a child of their own. She also then has legal certainty to know that that child is not her own. All those rights and responsibilities are actually signed over from the time that the contract is signed and the court order is granted. But also for the child, if anything happens to the intended parents and the surrogate mother moves on and the intended parents pass on before anything happens further, that they actually take you know, responsibilities over, it's possible to have legal certainty and you know, where the child stands in law. And you can also imagine, you know, with the legal aspects involved, working with people sometimes from different countries. We work with intended parents, South Africans, but also people from South Africa abroad. And if they meet the requisites and they live abroad, but they are returning to South Africa, they can still qualify. So also to know where that child fits in with all of this. But perhaps if we can start with the meaningfulness and the good stories out of surrogacy. I think the most important thing here that stands out, and it's a theme right throughout surrogacy, is the goodwill and the altruistic side of it, where somebody really sticks up her hand and say, I will assist you. And usually with intended parents, we see that often that they have had a struggle with infertility, or if it's this heterosexual couple where the female lost her womb or she's had a battle with cancer. And actually for someone close to her, to assist, it's important, I think, to point out here that there should be a trust relationship, somebody that stands close to you, whether it's a cousin or whether it's a sister or a good friend, where they're actually assisting you. And sometimes you also find people that the surrogate mother that actually does this really just to assist, not for compensation, just altruistic reasons. We see with the clinical psychological assessments that is also a requisite in terms of the act, with assessments and the motivation for people like this is really where they're saying, I always wanted to help someone. I feel I can contribute. I've got a wonderful family of my own, and I actually want to give something back. So I think for intended parents looking for a surrogate mother, it's important that you actually have a look at personality traits where somebody's altruistic, where they want to assist you, and sometimes just put out the word there. It's not always possible to have someone in your family or your circle of friends, but actually to put the word out there and to say, I need somebody. You can't advertise in terms of the act, and a surrogate mother can't stick up her hand. But there are people out there that can assist. And today is from my side, it is a journey of hope. Don't lose hope. You have to carry this through and look for a surrogate mother. Try and find out from people around you, circle of friends at the nursery school, perhaps of friends of yours. If there's somebody that can assist you, sometimes we even see this with churches where people know where they are part of groups where the people pray with problems or, struggles with infertility. And you get people that actually will stick up their hand and will come to the fore. Something else that I can mention with regards to expectations, I think it's important initially when you have a discussion with a possible intended surrogate, intended parents from their side, is to discuss the role play, to discuss, how far she's going to be involved, and if she's going to be involved at all once child is born. Obviously, if it's a sister or a best friend or a cousin, she will have contact, but in a different capacity. Then as a friend or a family friend, not necessarily a mother-child capacity. And we define that in the contract as well. So that's actually to give surety to the intended parents to know what the situation involves and how they should go about. It's also important here to take care of the surrogate mother emotionally throughout the surrogacy process. You can imagine when she provides you with this opportunity, she's got a life of her own. She's got children of her own. It's a requisite. She needs to have a child, at least one child of her own. To make sure that the expectations are discussed beforehand. You can always get your attorney on board to assist, to get a social worker with a role play, with the expectations and with the evaluations beforehand. But of course, thereafter as well, through her journey with her own children, her own husband, and even after birth, you carry that little bundle home and she goes on with her life without a little bundle. So it's important to get a social worker or a clinical psychologist that specializes in this field to assist her right throughout the process. I can also mention, with other matters that we've handled in the past, we work with surrogacy on a daily basis. But it sometimes happens that, people have grief, they've lost children through an accident, don't have children that pass the childbearing age, and then somebody will stick up their hand in the community and say, we will assist you. It needs to be at least one of the intended parents' genetic material. That's what our act is saying, but it's still possible then to have a further child. Or as I said earlier, if there's a problem with infertility or loss of a womb, or if it's a same-sex couple, that in itself is a discussion on its own. We're referring here to a same-sex male couple because if it's surrogacy, it's where a uterus in layman's terms is not available in the relationship or marriage, where it's a female same-sex couple, it's possible then to adopt. These different permutations, but that's something we can discuss. I don't know if we've got any questions at this time.
I have received some questions. Okay, how do you match surrogates and intended parents? That's from Tariq. How do you match these parents? Or so, for example, what I've been getting is a lot. So I get a lot of inboxes and stuff, and one of the ladies has asked me at some point, I want to be a surrogate. What is their first step? If she wants to be a surrogate, she doesn't. There's no one has actually contacted her. But who does she speak to now if she just wants to be a surrogate? Does she come to you?
Sure. So it's possible to make contact with fertility lawyers in South Africa. We're 3 to 4 attorneys specializing in this right throughout the country. There are also surrogacy agencies in South Africa. The law is very clear. You can't pay somebody to advertise or pay. It's possible to pay administrative fee, but it's possible to speak to the fertility clinics as well, the surrogacy agencies, and the attorneys. It's just important to make an informed decision so that you can know what the Act says and how it works in practice, even for the intended parents, because the intended parents can also sit in a very vulnerable position, so that you don't pay 3 to 4 times for something which is not necessary. But it's possible to approach fertility clinics. If you actually Google fertility clinics, we've got about 12 to 15 fertility clinics in the country that are super specialized. They deal with fertility, infertility problems, not only surrogacy, where you sit with donation of eggs, sperm donation, embryo donation, import of genetic material, export of genetic material. That's all things that happen in this fraternity.
Okay.
Should I carry on, or do you have other questions?
Yes, please. No, you can carry on. I will speak to you afterwards as well. I'll ask you any questions you have afterwards.
I think something else within this journey, which is something that is quite a challenge, is the financial side of it. We know with the statistics in South Africa, 1 out of every 6 couples actually suffer from infertility. And actually, the medical aids in South Africa do not cover fertility treatment at all. So it's possible to approach fertility clinics, and if the budget is still too high, we do have state facilities available, not a lot though, but that can also assist you with a lower budget. The same with the agencies being involved and the surrogacy lawyers. It's possible to actually work around a budget. So that's something to keep in mind. Yes, Leanne?
No, I was just going to, I had no idea that you could actually approach a fertility clinic as in a state fertility clinic. Because when you hear about someone talks about surrogacy, you immediately in your mind think, okay, I need to have a lot of money, to pay all the fees that goes involved in it. But obviously, this is where you also come in when it comes to, so we would go and see a fertility clinic, yes, but then you'd also need to see a surrogacy attorney or a fertility lawyer as yourself. Am I right?
That's right.
So you would take it from there.
It's important. I do think it's possible to approach an attorney. A normal attorney can also assist, but it's a lot of research to do. It's quite a super specialized field. So the best for the consumer's pocket is actually to work with an attorney dealing with this on a regular basis and can point out the pitfalls. You don't want to sit in a situation where you approach court. It's a legal application to a high court in the area where the intended parents are staying. So it's possible for your attorney to actually go through all the factors, quite a lot of work before the order is granted, but that you don't spend all that time and effort and money just for the surrogacy application to be turned down. But back to the state facilities, yes, we do have, not, as I've said, not a lot, but some of the state facilities can assist you. And it's possible then to approach someone in your circle of friends or family circle to assist you. The surrogate does this for altruistic reasons, so it can't be a source of income. She can't be paid 100 or 200,000. So it's important that the personality type of the surrogate needs to be such that she really wants to assist you. And that she's also financially stable. Perhaps that's something I can point out at this point in time for the consumer and for the intended parents and people listening. What are the factors that a court will look at for somebody to be suitable as a surrogate mother? So it's important that the surrogate mother needs to have one child of her own, whether she's married or single or engaged or in a cohabitation relationship is not relevant. As long as she has a child of her own, she's medically fit. So there's also a process where this fertility doctor will establish whether she can actually carry a child. If she's got a problem of her own, whether it's genetic or a weight problem, that makes her a high risk factor, they will advise intended parents. But it's important here that the surrogate mother needs to have a child of her own and that she's financially stable. If you sit with a single mother, being a surrogate mother without any employment with a child, and the child doesn't get any maintenance from the dad, you're going to have a problem with such a matter with a court application. The judge will ask for further information as to how does she go about to support herself and that she does not do this as a source of income. As I've mentioned earlier, the clinical psychological assessment on the intended parents, but we're now specifically referring to the surrogate mother. She goes through a psychological assessment that forms part of the court application. The clinical psychologist needs to do a report to motivate that she meets or conforms with all the requisites of the Act, and that she doesn't suffer from any depression or have a high risk of postpartum depression. And that's really to minimize the risk that if she does fall pregnant and carry the pregnancy, that she doesn't terminate that while she's pregnant. So that's important, but also her motivation and her own support structure, that she's got a life partner or a mother or somebody that assists her, that's not creating further stress, which can become complicated for the intended parents.
Okay, I've got one question here. So what if the surrogate, she's pregnant and she's 6 months pregnant. After 6 months, she actually cannot go back to work. She needs to stay at home, and so obviously she loses her income. Does it become you as intended parents? Would it be your duty to make sure that she now receives a salary? Because obviously you can't pay a surrogate. It's against the law. How does that work? And obviously all medical bills and things like that.
Sure. So that's something that we discuss very thoroughly beforehand. When we consult with the parties before the court application is finalized, when the surrogacy.
Oh my gosh. Oh my word. Is everyone there? So we seem to have a bit of a technical issue. We've lost Adele. We're just waiting for Adele to reconnect now. She lost connection. As soon as we get Adele back, I will let you know. So please hold on, guys. Bear with me. Yeah, let me just invite Adele again. Adele, if you're still there. Okay. Hi, Adele. Hi, I think you lost connection. So, yes, you lost, yeah, but because you're gone, you've completely gone out of the talk. So, Okay, so sorry about that, and everything is sorted again. And we go recording. Here we go. So sorry about that, guys. We had a bit of a technical issue with the connection at the moment. So Adele, I actually never heard anything about your answer now.
Now,
So I'm
perhaps,
ready
do you want me to
to hear
repeat? Do
that.
you want me to repeat?
Yes, please, please.
You're welcome. So we were discussing that what is important for the intended parents to consider with the surrogate mother, and even for the surrogate mother, what will a court look at? And we discussed the employment of the surrogate mother, whether she's employed or not. And then, Leanne, then you asked, but can they pay her if she's sick halfway
Yes.
through her pregnancy? Can they actually compensate her? So we said before we go one step back, we actually have a discussion beforehand to find out what is the employment agreement between surrogate and her employer. What kind of work is she doing? What are the terms? You know, because each match you have to take on its own merits. One person has an office job, somebody else is traveling often or more active in their work. So it's important then to discuss, if it happens, you know, the surrogate mother will go for her checkups with a gynecologist through the pregnancy. But if something happens with her health and she cannot carry on, yes, then it's covered in the surrogacy agreement and the court
Okay.
application in the affidavit to say that they will take care of her, that if she suffers any loss of income and actual loss, that she doesn't pay out of her pocket for this surrogacy, where she's assisting someone. So then the intended parents will stand in for that, but they actually will know what it entails before they actually start with a fertility process and the surrogacy, because we discuss this in the court papers and all of that. But then they can compensate her for the duration. Then, whether it's, let's say, 4 months left or 3 months left, it varies. But that they can compensate her for that, and it will also then vary. She may be able to claim from the UIF offices for maternity leave, and then they actually fill it, top it up, but that she doesn't have an out-of-pocket expense and a shortfall. So the answer is
Yeah.
yes, they can. It's how you go about with that and how it's structured.
Okay. One question that comes up a lot as well is, or a lot of people fear this, is that the surrogate actually becomes attached to the baby. You know, when you're pregnant, you become attached to the baby, even though the baby is not yours legally. You might just have feel that attachment to that baby. So I think the intended parents would always feel as if there's that risk. And if you could just run through that with us, what is
Sure.
there in place to prevent any of these things happening?
Sure.
The surrogate not wanting to give up the baby and stuff.
So we have to distinguish here when the surrogate is only providing her uterus, so to speak, it's not her genetic material, she doesn't have a link to that child. If it's her eggs, if she's providing her genetic material and it's her uterus, that is a high risk. And the fertility clinics, fertility specialists, and also the attorneys working with fertility are more prone to advise the intended parents to actually work with an egg donor if possible then, because it's half her child, and she does have in terms of the act, she has a choice whether she, after birth, 60 days cooling off period after birth, whether she wants to keep that child. So that's the one side of things. So for the moment, let's assume for the discussion, it's not her material. It's really the intended parents' material, or at least one of these, and a donor egg or donor sperm. So there's a lot of discussions beforehand, before the fertility process takes place, the role play, the expectations, and parameters wherein she's going to be involved with this process, and that they usually advise her that the discussion is not about her being pregnant with my baby or her baby, it's intended parents' baby. That's a role play and expectations. Some intended parents prefer to have quite close contact, especially if it's family, friends, or if, it's their own family. It's not always possible. Sometimes intended parents live in a different province than the surrogate mother. So it's possible for them to discuss how much they are involved in the pregnancy phase. Sometimes they attend each and every consultation, but it doesn't always work that way. So if something like this happens, the clinical psychologists do get on board again, and the social worker, and to have discussions in that regard, and also the birth process and how much she's involved from there. And usually when it's a C-section, the surrogate mother will move to this surgical ward, and the intended mother will be in the maternity ward with her child.
Oh.
And it happens often that if it's a good relationship, and if I say good, it's not, somebody assisted, but it's not necessarily, it's not always possible for the surrogate to act a second time because of her own life, her own planning with her own career, but also family life. She may want to fall pregnant again with her own child. We've seen it before on more than one occasion in the last 20 years, where the surrogate mother actually opts to assist them again for a sibling for that child. So this happens, and then it's so amazing to see actually how this little family formed from whatever their past was, and the challenges that they suffered. And a lot of gratefulness. We see that a lot with the intended parents being so grateful. You can imagine a lot of people opt for adoption, and a lot of people can't keep a pregnancy for whatever reason or raise a child of their own. But by the time we see people with surrogacy, they've actually been through a number of years with battles with infertility, and it's the greatest gift. So this is really an open invitation for listeners out there. If you ever have considered something like that, even if it means you're just consulting with a fertility clinic or with an adoption agency or with an attorney specializing in fertility, just to get information and to be informed, perhaps you are somebody that can assist someone else within the parameters of the law to do it lawfully, but to have a happy ending. And as we've discussed all these things with the expectations and the journey and the role play, it's not supposed to be a high stress environment. It's possible to have a happy pregnancy, and the intended parents focus a lot on the surrogate mother and make her feel very special. And a lot of professional people involved in this process to assist the surrogate mother and the intended parents. But it's a wonderful journey. And surrogacy happens often in South Africa and abroad, around the world. It's something that's amazing.
Wow, thank you, Adele. Is there anything else that you want to add?
Just maybe in closure, I think it's important here to be informed. Intended parents, surrogate mother, if you've got any question, you are more than welcome to send us an email. You can visit our website, www.surrogacyagreements.co.za, www.surrogacyagreements.co.za, or you can send us an email and we will gladly assist with any questions.
Wow. I just want to say thank you so much. When listening to it, I had a little lump in my throat thinking, it would be so amazing to actually go through that journey, even myself. And one thing I like about Fertility Solutions and what I'm trying to do is trying to get women informed. And I always think, I wish every week after I have a talk with the different doctors and the attorneys and everyone, it's like, I wish I had the opportunity to be as informed as the information that's out there now. If I was that informed, I think I would have been so much further in my journey, or would have had so many different options.
For sure.
But it's like it just wasn't out there. So ladies, I hope you really appreciate this, because I mean, if I knew what surrogacy is like, I would so many times, every time a cousin or a friend offered me, and I'll carry your baby, I would have said, okay, let's go to an attorney, let's get this in writing, let's get this done now. And I always thought, no, I can't do it. It's going to cost me a lot. There's no way possible. They might not give me the baby, all these things. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. I hope to have you back again. Yes, definitely. Sure. And that's exactly what we need for women. And there's always hope out there. There's always a way. There's so many options these days, ladies. So thank you very much, Adele. Thank you, ladies, for joining us again. Hope to see you guys again soon, and have a lovely weekend. Bye, Adele.
Thank you, Leanne. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye. Bye.